What we're going to be doing in this video today is to actually show you how to change a tire on a Prius. Now, when you have a flat tire, the first thing you should do is try and pull off the road somewhere safe where you can change the tire. If you cannot pull off the road, there are instructions in your binder in each of the glove boxes for the drivers that will instruct you as to the proper placement of safety equipment like road reflectors, and where, depending on what kind of roadway you're on, will give you specific instructions there. So refer to your driver's manual that will be in the glove box for that. This will just cover how to actually physically change the tire. Okay, so if you have this flat tire and you will have found yourself a good safe place to go and pull off and change it, you will obviously be coming into the back of the car, and all this stuff just comes out, and turn these to unlock. With this car, you just have to take the whole tray out. And so there will be your jack and your handle and your wrench and the spare tire. It's held down by just a little handle that unscrews, holds the whole thing down in the car. Looks like that. Okay, so you've unscrewed this little handle that holds all this stuff down. There's this neat little tray that sits inside of the spare tire. It has jack, wrench, and handle in it. And the spare tire is under that. Okay, part two, you're gonna have your little tray here with your lug wrench in it. This fits the nuts, the bolts on the tire. What you want to do is loosen them a little bit while the car's on the ground, because if you don't, the wheel will just spin and you won't be able to loosen them. So you have to loosen them a little bit while the car's on the ground before you lift it. Not too far, just enough to loosen it. Then you can go about putting the jack underneath it. Okay, this is called a scissor jack, and this little handle that's in the tray that you saw goes in the end of this to raise and lower it by cranking on this round little eyelet here. That turns the jack up and down. So now the placement of the jack is very important. Okay, underneath the car, just a few inches inwards, you'll see a metal rail, and it's got two little notches in it. That's an indicator of that's where you're supposed to put the jack. There's also a little arrow here. It's hard to see, but you can find this thin metal rail a little bit, like 5 or 6 inches inwards, and that's where the jack wants to go. So find that little rail, and there's a slot in the jack that fits it, and you just kind of raise the jack up until it engages in that with that little rail. Okay, so now it's engaged on that little rail perfectly in the right place, and then you start jacking the car up by turning this little eyelet. That's it. So you got the wheel off the ground. You've already loosened these nuts. Here's what would happen if you hadn't loosened the nuts and you tried to loosen the nuts with the car in the air. The wheel's just going to turn. So that's why you loosen the nuts with the car on the ground. Now you got them loose. Should come off pretty easily. So you got to spin all these nuts off. You can see why you want to get off the road if you can, because if this is the left side, which this is, you're going to be out in the lane of the traffic. So try and find a spot where you can get out of the road to change the tire. Okay, so you got all the nuts off. This thing, since you haven't raised it up too far, it'll just pretty much be almost on the ground. Just slide it over. You've got the flat tire off, and you've got your spare. I find it easiest just to be able to find these, to put one at the very top, and then you put one of the holes in the tire at the very top, and hopefully you can find it just like that pretty easily. As far as which side of the spare, it's pretty obvious. It's kind of like the tire you just took off. The flat outside is the outside, so you'll be able to see that. It also won't fit the other way. So, got this on there, and you start putting nuts back on. Then to tighten these, you remember you had to have the car on the ground because the wheel will just spin. You have to run these on almost all the way because you're going to be letting the car down on this wheel, and if it's really loose, it's going to flop around. So put them hand tight as you can get them with your hands, and then you let the car down. I'm lowering the car now. But now is the point at which you want to make sure these are really tight. As tight as you can get them, pretty much. Because this is so short, you won't have enough strength to hurt them or strip them. You want to put them really tight. Make sure you get all 5 of them. Hopefully you'll remember how it came out, because the spare tire goes in first, and it has to go in with the outside down, because I'll tell you why. So all that jack and that little tray has to go inside the tire. So then I'm going to show you how to re-stow all this stuff. This is the jack. Fits in there nicely one particular way. Pay attention when you're taking this stuff out, and it'll make it a lot easier for you to get it back. Now, I think this one has to go in first. And then this whole thing is going to lie inside the spare tire. And remember this little handle we started with? That's going to hold it all down. And you know what? If you're in a dangerous spot, don't worry about this. Just throw all that shit back in the car. We'll put it back later, because we'd rather have you safe. So this is not the most important thing, but it's nice if you can get it back in there, but don't worry about it. Then the tray, then the lid, and then the carpet, and that's it. Okay, well, we're done. Obviously you want to close the door, and this has been your instructional on how to change a tire for Nice Guys Delivery. Thanks for watching.